Welcome back, guys. My name is George Brooks, and I'm one of the founders here at Crema. We are a digital product agency. We're working with companies all over the country and world to build product teams. We design, develop, and help product manage solutions from ideation all the way through to growth. Today, what we're going to talk about is lessons that we've learned growing product teams here at Crema and with our clients. So there are a number of things that we've done accidentally right, and some things that we probably haven't done really well or that we've learned don't work as well. And so I want you guys to avoid those pitfalls. And so we're gonna give you a few tips and tricks to figure out how to build your product teams or work with people that are building product teams. Stay tuned for sure all the way to the end, because there's one piece of advice that I wish we would have known sooner. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I think a lot of product teams fail. So stay tuned all the way through. First off, let's just put it in your head now. You are in the business of people. You just happen to be building apps. We try to amplify technology in the world that we live in, either because we're just assuming it's going to replace our jobs, or we think it's going to make our life easier. And in some ways, some of those things might be true, but really what we want to be focused in on is technology doesn't happen without people. And so you really have to be focused on your teams. So that's why we want to focus in and why we do focus into product teams. So first off, don't get too stuck on the technology. Think about your people. You're in the business of people. One of the first things that we're seeing is that across the industry as a whole, there's a big emphasis on diversity. Now, diversity can be on a lot of different things, but for us, it really, first and foremost, comes down to cross-discipline teams. Working with people that are in different roles under one single unit or one vision of the product that they're working to build. There is the diversity of a cross-discipline team, but there's then also the diversity of backgrounds and perspectives and even cultural diversity. As you're building out your product teams, avoid having a team that everyone looks the same. Having males and females and having different color skin on your teams and having different backgrounds, even different ethnicities and languages really add to the value of people bringing different perspectives into what is going to make the product great. Because you might have somebody that says, yeah, that's a really great idea if everyone is this and this. But as soon as you introduce some diversity into the group, you start looking at things through a different angle and can really see things that maybe you wouldn't have been able to see on your own if everybody looked the same. Keep teams small and keep sprints small. Companies have grown massively in the last few years. Startups are, especially technology companies, are just taking off, and they're really starting to build massive teams. But the companies that we're seeing be most successful, including Crema here, is when they create focused teams that stay small. So for us, most of our teams are no more than 3 to 5 people, and usually it's more around that 5-person mark. That doesn't mean that all 5 people are 100% dedicated to one project. You might have them floating between jobs, but the reality is that you keep that team small so that you don't get this large kind of group think. Instead, you can make decisions, you can move quickly, and you don't have to get this cross buy-in that can really weigh down the velocity of your project. And then keeping sprints small. So instead of casting a vision for a roadmap for what you want to do over the next 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's fine if you want to project what you think it might be. Focus more on what you're going to be able to do in the next week or 2. So keep your team small and keep your sprints small. Culture. I think one other factor when you're building your product teams, and especially when you start to have diverse views, is that you really have to be careful to make sure that their culture stays healthy as you create each new team. You may find that your first team, kind of the founding team or the champion team inside your organization is tight-knit because you're all bought into the vision. But as you start to build new teams in each of the maybe components or focused areas of your solution or of your business, it's easy to let that slip and just think, well, all I need is to represent the different roles, and not, culture will probably come because everybody's going to act like we did. And that's just not true. So you have to train people how to really be sure that they work well together. That comes with diverse backgrounds and perspectives, so that innately brings some tension. So one of the things that we look for and we talk a lot about is a term we call humble confidence. And so we really suggest that as you're looking to build your teams, look for teams that can stay confident that they know how to build the best solutions, and they may have great ideas, but they're humble enough to know that they can take input from other people and that the team can get better over time. If you have that one person that's not fitting or is causing strain in the team, do something about it quickly. So that may mean you just have a conversation. They may not even realize they're acting like this, so address that concern. We have had situations, and that's one of our lessons learned in the past, where we had someone on the team that wasn't a perfect fit. It's not that they were not great at their job, they were very intelligent people, but they weren't a good cultural fit to know how to work well with this diverse team. And what it ended up doing is it ended up dragging the team down and just created this weight, this oppression. But it wasn't until that person either was removed or was recognized as this being a problem and improved. And as soon as that happened, it was amazing to see the weight that was lifted off the product team and how much faster they moved and how much more efficient they became and how much better of a product they created. So this is something that maybe, it doesn't have to be a rule, but it's just something we found to be helpful. Maybe consider changing up your teams every once in a while. I think that over a period of time, people get kind of stagnant. I don't want to say bored, but they can get kind of tunnel visioned into really being comfortable with the people they're around and the idea that they're working on. So we don't have a process that's like fixed in place yet, but we have found that when our teams were forced to change up for some reason, whether that was because somebody left the organization or a new team member came on, or we had a capacity issue, so we had to shuffle people around. For the most part, we actually found that there was more gain out of that change than there was loss. And I think people are really scared that when you're going to change up the team, there won't be like this knowledge background of what they've all been doing for the last 6 months or 2 years or whatever that is, and that it's going to take them too much time and cost to get brought up to speed. What we actually found is it brought fresh perspective. You start to see things that maybe you didn't see before because everybody was just kind of on the same wavelength and things were happening in the same way over and over and over again. Consider some type of rotation or some type of change out of resources that are working on one particular problem, or if you can, bring somebody new in to kind of mix up the kind of daily grind of it, so that you don't get stuck and not realize that you need to keep innovating, you need to keep pivoting or kind of refining the direction that you're going in your product, your solution, or on your teams. And then one of the last things I'll say is look at ways to give your team members in these cross-discipline roles a way to be better at their craft outside of this particular project. So that may mean sending them to a conference, or it might mean giving them time to continue to train. Or for us at Crema, what we do is we have craft teams, and then we have product teams or project teams. And what that basically means is that on a project team, you are working with people that oftentimes are not the same role as you because, again, that diverse team is moving the product forward. But what you lose is maybe the context of like, well, how are other people designing with Sketch today or with InVision or Studio? How are other people writing JavaScript right now? What are best practices in my trade or my craft, as we call it? What we do here at Crema, and actually I think is something that kind of organically happened, the teams just started to do it, and now we're kind of naming it and seeing the value in doing it more, is giving our craft teams or the trade teams a space and a time to meet and grow and be better together. So for us, that looks like we have a dev chats that happens, I think, every 2 weeks, a designer chats. We have the product strategists have strat chats. We have product management improvement. Their name is a little bit longer because product managers like to have long terms for things. They have a product management meetup. Give space for the people that don't maybe day to day get to spend time together. Give them space where they can go off and actually meet with other people that do the same thing they do, and they can learn and grow and get better at that craft together. It's a way to make sure that your product team, again, doesn't become stagnant in the way that they do things today. So I said that I would give you the one kind of biggest lesson learned for us. All these things that I've shared so far have been things that we've kind of either accidentally fell into or we did it wrong in some way. And so we realized that people had been stuck on the same project for too long. And while they were doing good work, you could tell they were just feeling a little stale. So we had to kind of constantly ask, like, how can we get them out and help them to do better? And I think that kind of leads to the one point of failure, the single point of failure in any team, meaning siloed. Anybody that's completely siloed kills a product team. This naturally can happen because of personality. There's just that a person might be a little bit more reserved or introverted, I guess is one way to say it. And so they'll pull back away from maybe being collaborative with the rest of the team. It's not a bad thing, but what it leads to is that this person starts making decisions on their own. They start maybe running in a different direction, and they miss alignment with the vision or the purpose of the project or the solution or the company. And so I think one of the big things is keep your eyes open, do the lean kind of methodology of watching for inefficiencies, and look for anyone that might start to become siloed. Someone who's just not getting up from their desk very often, or someone who's not engaging in the meetings. and see what you can do to pull information out of that person, to invite them into the collaboration of the team. Look for ways to do silent activities. So whether that's when you do brainstorming, instead of it being a vocal like challenge of who speaks the most, and so the loudest voice always wins, instead do exercises where you put sticky notes up on the wall and think about how you can vote. And so they get them a voice by allowing them to write things down, and then everybody votes, rather than who did the best pitch for an idea vocally. If you have the budget and the capacity to do this on your teams, think about how you can pair up programmers. The pair programming has been a thing that's been around for a long time, which is to say you both sit down and you look at the same set of code. One person writes, one other person kind of like reviews and asks questions about why are they writing the code that way, and then you switch places. The final result of the code is a better quality product. Even though you think, well, that's gonna double up on time, it actually creates more efficiency so that people aren't spinning their wheels, they're not getting stuck, and they can move forward faster. Traditionally, it was with programming, but there's no reason to say it couldn't actually work with other roles as well. Same thing with product management and strategy. So they oftentimes are going, well, how are we going to run this next meeting? Or how are we going to put together this plan or this roadmap for this particular project so we can communicate it with the stakeholders, that we can communicate it with our bosses, and then we can share it with the team. I think that by nature of having two minds thinking about how that might be done, really keeps people from getting siloed into there's only one person that has all the knowledge. And that's what you want to avoid. If somebody got hit by a bus, God forbid, on one of your projects, that not all the knowledge would be lost and left with that one person. You may not have that luxury. It may be that your team is so early and so small that you don't have that enough bodies to do that. But I think as quickly as possible, looking for those single points of failure, those single points that if something were to go wrong, it would all fall back into that one person, or that bottleneck, remove that. Start getting cross-discipline collaboration so that you get a better result. That's the number one thing I would say is remove silos, look for ways that you can collaborate with other people, and I think your product teams are definitely going to be better for it. So these are just a few tips and tricks, a few lessons learned from a company that builds product teams. We have several product teams here inside of Crema. We've been doing this for the last 10 years, building product teams, and we're helping now our clients build their own product teams. And so if you're thinking about building a cross-discipline small product team that can move fast and build great solutions, maybe these are a few tips and tricks for you. Thank you guys, as always, for watching us today, for subscribing to our channel. Make sure to subscribe and then turn on the bell. I think that allows you to get all the notifications. Like us if you can as well on YouTube. This year we're really going to be dialing up our content. We're really going to be pushing out videos and podcasts and blog posts and material that hopefully is useful for you. If there's a question that you have, or there's something that you're kind of struggling with as you're building your product teams, as you're building your products, let us know. Drop us a comment below about maybe what are some of the lessons you've learned as you've been trying to build your product team. Until next time, thank you guys for watching. See you later.